You ever have one of those days where a simple backyard BBQ turns into the opening shot of a suburban war? Yeah, well, that was me standing by the grill with my dad's old rib rub on my fingers, sun just starting to set over Sullivan Ranch, thinking all I had to worry about was keeping the steaks from burning. And then, bam, here comes Karen, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, screeching up like the sheriff in a Western, shouting that I was trespassing on my own land and threatening to call in a SWAT team over my little charcoal setup. You'd think I was running an illegal moonshine, still not flipping ribs. And sure enough, not 5 minutes later, here come the cops, 2 squad cars, lights flashing, tires, spitting gravel. I wasn't rattled, though. I had every deed survey and dusty legal paper you could want. That pond, that patch of Texas grass, every stone and blade belonged to the Sullivans, been that way since before the HOA was even a bad idea in a boardroom. But Karen, you know how they get. She called the officers over like she'd just caught Al Capone himself, pointing at my grill and acting like the smell of mesquite smoke was the end of civilization. I could see right then this wasn't about a BBQ, not really. She had her eye on something bigger. I'm telling you, that day spun out faster than I could say past the potato salad. The officers, bless them, looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, but Karen was wound tight, pacing, waving legal printouts, acting like she owned the zip code. Then Marcus Webb showed up, HOA's legal guy, slick suit, hair so sharp it could cut glass, voice colder than February, carrying a clipboard thick with rules nobody but a lawyer could love. He started quoting bylaw, this environmental impact, that acting like my Weber kettle was a biohazard. I wiped sauce off my hands and said, "Son, this here is my land. Always has been, always will be. I've got the paperwork that says so." He looked about as pleased as a banker during a coin shortage, snapping pictures of my deed, muttering about legal reviews. It would have been funny if it wasn't so damn insulting, my own land handed down from my granddad suddenly up for debate because someone with a badge and a title decided they knew better. Karen kept at it. But that's when Officer Rodriguez, God bless that man, walked my property line GPS in hand, compared it to my deed, and announced that Karen and her stiletto heels were 15 feet inside Sullivan territory. The look on her face, I'll never forget it. It was like watching a weather vane in a tornado, pink, then white, then red. Still, she wouldn't let up yelling about fake documents and protected wetlands. But the cops knew, and for once, the law was on my side. Here's where it gets wild. Just as the officers were packing up, Mrs. Thompson, she's lived here since dirt was invented, shuffled over, whispered loud enough for Karen to hear, "She's got friends at the station, don't expect this to be over." I watched Karen's face. She knew she'd been caught, but her smirk said she was already planning round 2. And that night, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, I started thinking, this isn't about me cooking steaks. It's about someone wanting what they can't have. Couldn't shake it, so I dug out Dad's old files. Found his journal. Turns out he'd seen the same thing. Black sedans, strange surveyors, neighbors being questioned about land values. One entry, Karen keeps asking about the creek, she's up to something. The more I read, the more my stomach turned. Dad knew they were circling, trying to pressure families into selling cheap so developers could cash in. He died before he could stop it. Now it was my turn. That's when Duke Morrison, Dad's best buddy, ex-insurance investigator, tougher than shoe leather, showed up on my porch. "Son, your old man wasn't just worried about trespassers. He was building a case, thought he had proof they were running a racket. Folks in other counties got squeezed out the same way." That hit me hard. My little BBQ was just a trigger. There was a whole playbook at work, HOA bylaw by HOA bylaw, shoving people off their land. And Karen, she doubled down, turning Facebook into her own courtroom, posting photos of my illegal BBQ operation, calling me a hazard, tagging every neighbor in a 50-mile radius. I became a local villain overnight. You ever see grown adults argue about barbecue smoke like it's the apocalypse? Welcome to Willowbrook. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Folks I'd never spoken to in my life were demanding city inspectors, quoting bylaws, threatening lawsuits. But I wasn't alone for long. That's when Sophia Chen messaged me, an HOA abuse lawyer sharp as a tack, telling me she'd seen this pattern before: HOAs and their pet developers harassing families until they sold out for pennies. She offered to help. Next day, Marcus and a corporate rep from Pinnacle Properties, Jessica, all business, showed up offering me a buyout. 1/3 market value. Best you'll get, Marcus said like he was doing me a favor. I laughed in their faces. Jessica leaned in soft voice. Maybe you don't understand the gravity of your situation. That's when I knew these people would stop at nothing. Sophia wasn't messing around. She brought files, evidence of 17 neighborhoods getting picked off just like mine. Maps, sale records, even a leaked memo about turning the whole county into a luxury resort. The plan only worked if they got my pond, my water rights, my minerals. Without that, the project collapsed. Dad had known too, his photos, journals, even pictures of Karen meeting with the same developers. And then Mrs. Rodriguez, the officer's mom, showed up looking nervous but determined. She'd been overhearing Karen's calls, recorded one where Karen said, "Pressure him a little more, he'll sell, they always do." She had names, dates, dollar amounts. Karen was getting monthly payments from Pinnacle to stir up trouble. That's what finally broke it open. We set up a live stream from my pond, evidence, witnesses, the whole ugly truth. Within minutes, thousands were watching, neighbors chiming in, people realizing they'd been played. Karen rolled up with Marcus in a so-called court order to shut us down, fake as a $3 bill proven by Sophia's quick call to the county clerk. Then Duke, with his folder thick with proof, laid it all out: fraud, kickbacks, false reports. By the end, there were so many witnesses and so much evidence that Marcus and Karen looked like they'd just lost the lottery. 6 months later, I'm sitting in court watching Karen bawl to the judge about how my BBQ ruined her life, whole room trying not to laugh. Her accounts exposed, Pinnacle bankrupt, their CEO facing federal charges, and the HOA dissolved. I turned my ranch into a nature preserve in Dad's honor. Karen got sentenced to cleaning up my land as community service, talk about poetic justice. These days, my Sunday BBQs are bigger than ever. Neighbors, friends, even strangers who heard the story. There's a little plaque by the pond now: "This land belongs to the people, not the greedy." And somewhere Karen's pulling weeds, finally learning what real community looks like. So let me ask you, what would you do if someone tried to bully you off what's rightfully yours? Ever had to pick a fight you didn't want just because someone thought you were too small to win? Share your story below. I want to hear it. And if this hit home, pass it on. Sometimes the only way to fix things is to stand up, fire up the grill, and remind the world that regular folks can still win one barbecue at a time.